The sun beat down like punishment on Aja Market. Sweat ran down Tari Johnson's back as she balanced her worn plastic tray of sliced watermelon, carefully wrapped in transparent nylon, one hand steadying it as she weaved through the crowd. Her other hand gripped a battered umbrella handle she used as a walking stick when her legs trembled from exhaustion. She stopped just outside Big Deal Supermarket, where traffic always slowed and customers rolled down windows to buy quick snacks. It was her lucky spot. Or at least it used to be. "Tari! Watermelon 200 Nigerian nairas today," a familiar voice called. She forced a smile. "No, this one sweet pass juice. But for you, 150 Nigerian nairas." She made the sale quickly, her movements graceful despite the ache in her legs. Sitting on an old sack beside her was her 5-year-old son, Elijah, tiny, sharp-eyed, and full of questions that often made her heart twist. "Mummy," Elijah said, fanning himself with a tattered exercise book, "today hot like generator smoke." Tari laughed. "It's not just hot. It's angry." She knelt beside him, wiped his forehead with her wrapper, and offered him a small piece of watermelon from her stash. "Eat small before your head boils." As she stood back up, she noticed a black G-Wagon slowly pulling into the parking space near her. Tinted windows. Lagos plates. Fences. She shifted her tray on her head and stepped aside, just in case. The car paused. The driver's door opened, and out stepped a tall man in crisp white agbada, sunglasses low on his nose, designer wristwatch gleaming like a mirror in the sun. The rear window slid down halfway. Inside was a man laughing. At first, Tari didn't hear clearly. But then she did, the low, familiar chuckle that sent a strange tremble down her spine. "Guy, look this one," the man said inside the SUV. "She carry watermelon like she day do fashion show for dust. No be person like this one talk say she go marry me that year? God forbid." Tari's chest stopped moving. That voice. That laugh. She knew it. She turned her head slowly, her eyes locking onto the face behind the tinted window. Obinna Maduka. Billionaire. CEO of TechRise Africa. Media darling. And the man who once promised to marry her. She gripped the edge of her tray so tightly her knuckles turned pale. He hadn't seen her clearly. He was laughing, full-chested and careless, like life had never punished him once. But she had been punished. For trusting him. For loving him. Elijah, now standing beside her, looked up and squinted toward the car. Then he tilted his head, curious. "Mummy," he said slowly. "That man." Tari didn't respond. Her lips were tight. Elijah's voice rose a little. "Mummy, that's the man from your book." Tari's heart stopped. "What book?" she whispered without turning her head. "The one you hide. With his picture inside. I saw it when you were sleeping." Before she could react, Elijah took a step forward, eyes focused on the SUV. "Mummy, is that not Daddy?" And just like that, the world stopped. The market stilled. Even the bus conductor shouting, "Ikeja, Ikeja, Ikeja," paused mid-yell. Obinna's head turned sharply at the sound of that little voice. The boy stepped closer to the SUV, staring through the half-open window. Tari reached forward too late. Obinna leaned slightly out. His eyes landed on the boy. Their boy. Same sharp nose. Same dimples. Same forehead. He froze. "Wait," he murmured, voice barely above a whisper. Elijah tilted his head again. "You're the one in the picture. My mummy said you were gone. Are you not my daddy again?" The words landed like a brick. The man in the front passenger seat choked on his own spit. Be wet in the boy day talk." Tari's tray of watermelon hit the floor with a soft thud. Obinna opened the door slowly and stepped out, staring like he'd just seen a ghost. He looked from Elijah to Tari, back to Elijah. And then it hit him. It wasn't just any fruit seller. It was Tari, the woman he abandoned after rumors, after pressure, after cowardice. She looked thinner, stronger, and painfully familiar. Her voice was ice. "You recognize me now, ABI?" Obinna's lips parted, but nothing came out. Elijah stood awkwardly between them, looking up at both adults like he didn't understand why the air had gone so still. The market erupted in whispers. Nahim Pekin? She resemble am. That's Obina Maduka, I swear. Omo. Dramadan land. Tari turned to her son and knelt beside him. Elijah, she said softly, brushing his cheek. Let's go. Elijah looked confused. But, he's my dad, right? You said he was gone to work far away. He's here now. Her eyes watered for the first time in years. But she smiled gently. Yes, baby. But sometimes people go so far away, they forget how to come back. She stood, picked up her watermelon, now bruised and dusty, and walked past Obina like he wasn't even there. Elijah followed, still looking back. The billionaire who had everything, now stood in a dusty Aja parking lot, speechless, ashamed, and completely shattered. He had laughed, not knowing that the woman he mocked was the one person who had once believed in him more than anyone else. And the little boy who called him Daddy, in front of everyone, was the legacy he never knew he left behind. The video went viral before the sun even set. A shaky smartphone recording from the crowd captured every moment. The SUV, the mocking laugh, the fruit seller, the little boy calling him Daddy, and the billionaire's stunned face. It was all over Twitter by nightfall. Hashtag Aja fruit seller. Hashtag Obinama TXD. Hashtag billionaire baby mama. Obina's face was everywhere, not as a tech hero or business mogul this time, but as the man who laughed at his own child in public. And the woman he mocked? The internet made her a queen overnight. Obina sat alone in the top-floor office of his Victoria Island penthouse, the city lights buzzing in the distance. The video was playing again, he'd seen it a dozen times. Her voice. His son's voice. His laughter. His shame. He couldn't look away. The little boy's words echoed. Are you not my daddy again? Obina flinched. A knock came at the door. It was Amaka, his longtime P. Her face was tight. Sir, sponsors are asking questions. Your mother called 3 times. And, she hesitated. Lagos Weekly wants a response. Tell them nothing, he said. But sir. Nothing, Amaka. She nodded and left. Obina sat back, heart pounding. For 6 years, he'd buried her in the past. 6 years ago, when he was just a budding tech founder and Tari was a final-year accounting student from Ijibuode, full of fire, ambition, and love. Back then, they had everything but approval. Obina had never known real warmth until he met Tari Johnson. She had eyes like challenge and a laugh that made him forget the world. She believed in his dreams even before his app made money. She listened when no one else did. They met at a tech symposium at Unilag. He had no car. She had no makeup. But they had joy. Every weekend, she'd cook jollof in her hostel for them both. He'd bring books on coding, and she'd bring jokes. They were poor in pockets, but rich in peace. Until Madame Uju Maduka, Obina's mother, showed up. She called Tari a parasite, accused her of trapping Obina with a fake pregnancy, and even brought a forged hospital report claiming Tari had lied. And Obina believed her, because trusting his mother was easier than standing up to her. He never even asked Tari directly. He just cut her off, blocked her, ghosted her, and left. Tari didn't beg. She cried. She bled. And when her baby bump began to show, she sold her iPhone, left school, and found a corner in Aja Market. She refused to call him. Refused to chase him. She told herself, I will raise this child. I don't need him. Even when the nurses called her child Obina's photocopy. Even when Elijah's questions about his invisible father made her want to collapse. Even when there was no food and she shared plain Gary with her son in the dark, she stood firm. She survived. But she never forgot. 2 days after the incident, Obina stood outside Tari's Face-Me-Face-You compound in Bador. No security. No suit. Just guilt, and a bouquet of mangoes and a loaf of bread. He knocked. A neighbor peeked out. Who you dey find? Tari. Her old friend. The woman looked him up and down. You know the billionaire dem talk about? Obina blinked. It's complicated. The woman shook her head and knocked on Tari's door. Tari, oh, you're passed on where Agbada come greet you. Tari opened the door slowly. She was holding Elijah's shoes. Her eyes didn't soften. Obinna cleared his throat. Can we talk? But, so you can laugh properly this time? He looked down. I'm sorry, he said. I didn't know. I didn't know he was mine. I didn't know you were there. You didn't want to know, she shot back. You believed lies without asking me once. He looked up. What could I have said? I was 24. My mother showed me a hospital report. She said I was after your money, Tari interrupted. But you had no money back then, Obinna. What I wanted was you. Silence. The air felt tight. Elijah ran to the door and saw him. Daddy, he beamed. Obinna choked. Hey buddy. Tari pulled the boy back gently. Elijah, say hello and go inside. Elijah obeyed. I didn't come to fight, Obinna said. I want to do right by him. And you? Tari crossed her arms. You don't get to do anything just because the internet dragged you. He shook his head. This isn't about my image. Oh please, she snapped. You mocked me before the world. Now you want to fix your guilt. He paused. You're right, he said. That made her blink. I was a coward. I failed both of you. But if you let me, I want to be in his life. As a father. No cameras. No PR. Just presence. That night, Tari couldn't sleep. Elijah clutched her arm like always. His breath soft. Peaceful. But her heart wouldn't rest. Could she let that man, the one who shattered her, into her child's life? Was he doing this to feel better? Or had he changed? Would he disappear again? She walked to her tiny window and looked at the stars. She whispered, God, what if he breaks Elijah's heart the way he broke mine? A knock came at the door. It was a delivery rider. Madam, this is for you. From anonymous sender. She opened the envelope. Inside was a trust document. Elijah's name. Education fund. 10 million Nigerian nairas. Tears filled her eyes. Not because of the money, but because there was a handwritten note. Even if you never forgive me, I'll keep showing up. Not to impress you, but to earn my place in his world. Binna. The next morning, Elijah danced barefoot around the house holding his favorite prize. A juice box Obinna had sent with the note. Mummy, can Daddy come again? He asked, mouth stained with orange. Tari watched him. She saw the way he smiled. And for the first time in 5 years, her heart didn't break. It opened. Just a little. 2 weeks later, Obinna Maduka stood awkwardly in front of a rundown primary school building in Aja, dressed not in his usual designer wear, but a plain t-shirt, jeans, and sneakers. He looked nothing like the CEO who once graced the cover of Forbes Africa. He was just a man, clutching a plastic bag filled with snacks, pencils, and a small dinosaur lunchbox. Mummy says you like green, he had told the boy. So I got a green one. Today was Parents' Day, and for the first time ever, Obinna had shown up as one. He walked through the school gate like a stranger entering holy ground. Curious glances followed him, whispers rising like smoke. But he didn't care. He had shown up. And he would keep showing up. Inside one of the classrooms, Elijah sat with other children, his eyes scanning every adult who walked in. Then he saw him. Daddy! Elijah shouted, rising from his plastic chair. Obinna froze. The sound of that word, said with joy, not confusion or pain, made something collapse inside him. He knelt down and opened his arms. Elijah ran into them. The teachers smiled. Some parents blinked in recognition. Isn't that the billionaire from? Yes, but look how he's kneeling. Obinna sat beside Elijah during class activities, helping him color a drawing titled, My Family. In the corner, Elijah had drawn himself holding hands with a woman and a man. He wrote their names carefully. Mummy. Daddy. Obinna smiled, but didn't speak. After school, they walked together to the nearest Malam selling Puff Puff. Elijah asked for 3. Obinna bought 10. You still love Puff Puff? Obinna asked. Elijah nodded. But Mummy says I can only have it if I finish my homework. She's wise, Obinna replied. They sat on a bench. Elijah munched away. Obinna watched every crumb fall. Suddenly, Elijah looked up. Daddy, are you staying this time? Obina's smile faltered. What do you mean? You're like the moon. Sometimes you're there. Then you hide. Obina's throat tightened. I don't want to hide anymore. Promise. I promise. Elijah stuck out his pinky. Pinky swear. Obina wrapped his around it. Sealed, he whispered. Later that evening, Tari Johnson opened her front door to find Obina and Elijah returning. The boy was beaming, holding a balloon and a book on dinosaurs. Daddy bought me this. And I got 2 puff puff extra. Obina smiled gently, standing just behind him. I brought him home. On time. Tari said nothing. She simply stepped aside and let Elijah bounce past her. Then she crossed her arms. You're winning him over. Obina looked at her. I'm trying. She hesitated. What do you want from me, Obina? He didn't hesitate. Grace. Tari blinked. Not forgiveness, he said. Just the space to show you I've changed. You're still rich. I'd throw it all away if it meant I could sit on that school bench again. Her eyes watered. You left me with nothing. I know. That's why I want to give him everything. But you can't erase the past. I know, he said again, stepping closer. But we don't have to stay trapped in it. 3 weeks later, Elijah stood proudly in front of his school assembly, holding a microphone. My project is called Cool Fruit Box, he said. It keeps fruit cold for market sellers like my mummy. The crowd clapped. Obina watched from the crowd, wearing dark sunglasses, hiding tears. Tari sat beside him, not close, not far, arms folded, but face soft. Elijah continued. My daddy taught me the words for it, insulation and innovation. I want to help people like Mummy, and Daddy too. The crowd rose in applause. Obina looked at Tari. She looked at him. No words. Just 2 people finally realizing they had raised something beautiful, despite everything broken. After the event, they walked out together. Elijah in the middle. One hand in Tari's. One hand in Obina's. Swinging. Laughing. The sun was setting behind them, casting gold across the sidewalk. A journalist hiding in the crowd snapped a photo, not because Obina was a billionaire, but because he was kneeling to tie his son's shoe. No suits. No press. Just peace. Back home, Elijah curled up on the floor, fast asleep with his school medal on his chest. Tari covered him with a wrapper. Obina stood quietly in the corner. Tari turned to him and spoke, barely above a whisper. You don't have to buy your way into his life, Obina. You just have to show up. Obina looked at her, eyes glassy. I will. Every day. If you'll let me. She nodded. Slowly. Then sat beside him. Not as a lover. Not yet. But as a woman ready to rewrite the ending. The end. Please subscribe, like, comment and share for more interesting stories.